All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Rizal. I'm the Director of the Division of Highway Traffic Safety. Also have on the call Bob Gatos, our Deputy Director, who will be participating, John Nicodemo, Deputy Attorney General, designated as our Community Engagement Liaison, as well as the rest of the staff, program staff from the Division of Highway Traffic Safety. I believe most of your microphones are muted, so please keep them on mute for the remainder of the presentation. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. If you feel the need to interject, please raise your virtual hand. I don't know if I'll see that in this presentation mode, but let me know if someone has a question that needs to be addressed right away. If you would, use the chat box to sign in, add your name and the name of the agency that you represent, so we can be aware of who's attended today. This presentation, as I said, will be recorded, and after the fact, we'll post it up on our website for anyone who missed it or needs to go back and refer to it for any reason. All right, agenda for this meeting. Just want to talk a little bit about the role of the Division of Highway Traffic Safety, talk about our public participation and engagement requirements, which we're going to refer to as PP&E, talk a little bit about reporting requirements, regular reporting requirements and PP&E reporting requirements, and then most importantly, share some examples of PP&E in practice from some of the agencies that have agreed to share a little bit of information about what they've done thus far regarding PP&E. So you'll listen to me for a couple minutes and hopefully get most of what you're going to get out of today by listening to some examples of your peers and what they're doing in their towns. Also going to ask you to maybe consider what kind of future events you have planned and how we might be able to join you to help us fulfill our obligations. And then again, some time for some Q&A at the end. So the Division of Highway Traffic Safety, most of you are very familiar with us and have worked with us for some time, but we do have some newer grants, newer relationships with some police departments. So, as a reminder, the Division of Highway Traffic Safety is really, we administer statewide and community traffic safety programs that are dedicated to reducing traffic crashes involving speeding, impaired driving, that encourage occupant protection, be it seatbelt use or child restraint use, motorcycle safety, pedestrian safety, all with the goal of making our roads safer, reducing the number of people injured and killed in traffic crashes. And we do that by these grant-funded programs, like the ones that you're participating in, using federal funds. We administer those funds to nonprofit organizations, other state entities, universities, our mobilizations, which you're aware of, our drive sober, get pulled over, you drive, you text, you pay, click it or ticket, and then also through what we call sustained enforcement grants. Those of you who are on the call today, I believe all have a sustained enforcement grants. About 80 agencies or so have these year-long grants to tackle a variety of problems, traffic safety related, in their community. You've each been assigned a grant manager. Those grant managers are probably on the call. Your grant managers are probably on the call You probably have a good relationship with them. Hopefully, those grant managers play an important part in making sure that your programs are run effectively, are done correctly. They monitor your progress. You report to them, most of you, on a quarterly basis. That quarterly reporting is particularly important because, as I mentioned, this federal funding comes with conditions, comes with lots of conditions. The federal government monitors us. We monitor you. Federal government monitors us monitoring you. So all that reporting is particularly important. So those of you who maybe aren't that great at reporting, please consider making that a priority. I was once a police officer sitting on the other end, and I gotta say I wasn't that great at doing the required reporting, but it is critical to us. We appreciate your cooperation on that. So one of those, I said, the funding comes with a lot of conditions. One of those is a new condition this year for all of our traffic safety partners, for our office, and in particular for police departments, to engage in public participation activities with your community. We're going to talk mostly about that and give some examples of what's going on thus far. We're also going to talk about our community engagement liaison and what he might be able to do for you, and how he might be able to help you engage with your community, and his role in helping us fulfill our obligations. So that new requirement I just mentioned comes as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. I imagine most of you are just generally aware of that. It's gotten a fair amount of media attention, big spending appropriation for the Department of Transportation. Roads and bridges have gotten most of the attention. As with all of those appropriations comes a little sliver that goes to traffic safety, administered by NHTSA to us, to administer our traffic safety programs, to administer the programs that each of you run. Someone doesn't have their microphone muted. If whoever that is could just mute their microphone, I appreciate it. So that's our requirement. That's our new requirement. And it simply says that our plans will provide comprehensive data-driven traffic safety programs resulting from meaningful public participation and engagement from affected communities, particularly those significantly impacted by traffic crashes resulting in injuries and fatalities. It seems like this is a big deal, a new requirement. This has been somewhat intimidating to some of the law enforcement partners, reluctant to embrace it. But as I mentioned, it is a requirement. We're required to do it to get the federal funds. You're required to do it to get the funds from us, and it's really not a big deal. A lot of these things, and by the time we're done today, you're going to say, all these things that we've just talked about, we already do. We just need to document them a little better, report them back to HTS, and we will have fulfilled our obligations, hopefully. So public participation engagement, a process that proactively seeks full representation from communities, considers public comments and feedback, and incorporates that feedback into projects, programs, or plans. When we think about doing this, think about why this has been added. You are all traffic safety professionals. You are out there doing your best to ensure that your roads are safe in your communities. Traffic safety partners throughout the state implemented programs for years. Our offices sponsored programs for years. It's only gotten us this far. This is where we are. 608 people killed in traffic crashes. last year in New Jersey, over 40,000 throughout the country. We talked about New Jersey specifically. Looks like 2024, we're on pace for 10% more than last year. So more than 60 extra people could die on our roadways this year. So what we know and what we've done thus so far has gotten us to where we are now. We'd like to embrace this idea of engaging with the community to learn, is there a way that we can do things a little better? Can we hear what they have to say? Can we develop programs better based on those interactions? The idea of public participation and engagement is that it will increase trust between your organization, your department, and the community that you serve. And with those kind of trusts come respect, be it respect for the speed limit, respect for you out there doing your jobs, increase the likelihood that the programs will be accepted. When the public understands what it is you're trying to accomplish, why it is you're doing what you're doing, it's more likely to be accepted, more likely to receive compliance from them. You're not just out there trying to generate revenue, as some people think as the purpose of traffic enforcement. The better informed they are, the better they can help cooperate with your programs. It empowers them to feel as though they're part of the decision making, and hopefully with that information you can deliver a more comprehensive projects that incorporate your expertise and the diverse ideas from the community that you've engaged with. So this little infographic kind of sums up what I'm talking about, and it these things collectively are an element of public participation and engagement. It kind of begins with understanding your community, understanding who they are, the demographics, what side of town is more dangerous for pedestrians, what roadways are more dangerous, if there's specific communities that warrant more attention, that are more susceptible to different types of crashes or likelihood of being in crashes, and building a relationship with those communities. Understanding what it is they want, what it is they need from law enforcement, regarding traffic safety, and hopefully that leads to really, not just a few examples, but more broad involvement of community in participating with what it is you're planning to do. Understanding, what the best techniques are to engage with them. Are we talking about town halls or surveys or ability to interact on social media or your website, and then ultimately really documenting what you're doing. And that's really, kind of what I've mentioned thus far. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, we kind of do those sort of things. So it really comes down to really documenting what it is that you are doing, and then adjusting what you do based on that, and kind of providing us, with some information about what you've done, so we can show NHTSA that we're fulfilling our obligation and that we are, our traffic safety partners, particularly in law enforcement, are also embracing this idea and helping us to fulfill that obligation. Again, this kind of the same information, understanding the public, understanding the community, developing a plan of how you're going to engage with them, how you're going to interact with them, what are you going to try to learn from them, and then ultimately, what are you going to do with the information once you have it, how are you going to modify your plans? How are you going to base plans on what you've learned, and hopefully be successful and be able to measure that success. Talking about traffic safety isn't really something that is a high priority when we talk about maybe community events or community activities, but sometimes you have to, bring that out in people, be able to ask those questions, uh, what can we do to support you? Where are the traffic safety problems? Where do you feel like you're in danger? What roadways are of specific concern? Where is it dangerous to walk? How can we better serve you? Um, what can we do to make what we do more effective in your community? What are the biggest issues, and how can we tackle them? And people, everyone knows the community around them. They know the roads in the areas better than you sometimes, and hopefully this will help you solicit some good information to better understand how to improve traffic safety in your community. I'm going to turn it over to Bob Gaydash to perhaps um, reiterate a little bit of what I said, maybe add to that a little bit, and then talk about your reporting requirements, and then we'll get on to some examples of what some departments have done throughout the state to help provide you with some examples and some ideas of what you can do moving forward. Do you want me to advance the slide, Bob, or?
Now, yeah, leave it on this one for now. Yeah, we'll start here. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call today, taking time out of your busy morning here to join us and discuss this important issue. As the director mentioned, obviously we're here because we need to get this information out to you. This is a important new requirement that has been placed on us by the federal government for all of our funding, but we certainly, as Mike mentioned, recognize the upside here, the potential benefits to carrying out these engagement activities. As Mike mentioned, the numbers are not great. The crash numbers, the fatality numbers here in New Jersey from the COVID period on forward have not been good, and that's not just Jersey. That's nationally. We've seen some significant upticks in crashes and fatalities, and really nationwide, folks are in our realm struggling to come up with solutions. I mean, what can we do to turn the tide, to move the needle back in the positive direction? And this issue of community engagement and kind of reconnecting and connecting with our communities is a new tool, a new tool in the arsenal that we want to give some attention and some emphasis on to hopefully bring about some positives. So that's kind of where we're at. We don't see a downside to it. I mean, for the traffic safety realm, as well as all of your overall just policing activities, having a better relationship with the folks in your community, there's obviously no downside to that. And also, hopefully you'll leave here with some ideas, and also the big takeaway that this really shouldn't be a heavy lift. I mean, a lot of you folks are already doing these kind of activities, if not not difficult to get out and undertake them, and just make sure that you can document and report things back to us. So that's a key consideration, something we want to leave you with also. Now, the definition that's up here on the slide right now is very important, so I'm just going to go right through it and read it. For engagement to be effective and responsive to the community, the organization should use input gathered from the community to directly influence decisions about a project, program, or plan, and demonstrate to the community how the specific input was or was not incorporated and why. Meaningful community engagement is not simply public education. It's an opportunity for the public to influence what will happen in the community. So this is important, definite key takeaway for the whole program here today, is we're kind of going in a sort of a new direction with our public activities to a new level. I've been in this business a long time, as many of you have. Traditionally it's been kind of the one-way approach, right? We go out, we pass out brochures, we do an educational program, maybe in a school or at a senior center or something like that. We're getting information out. All good. I mean, nothing wrong with that. That's important. We're getting the information out there. But for true community engagement, as the federal government defines it, and as we need to enact, we got to go further. We got to go further than the one-way presenting of materials and education. We've got to engage with folks. Talk to people in the community, get their input, and use it as possible. To inform and better our projects moving forward. So that's the key takeaway probably for the whole thing today is we just need to go to a different level with this interaction. Make sure we're getting the input and kind of using it and documenting it and evolving on an ongoing basis our projects moving forward. So that's pretty much that. Yep. Next slide, Mike. All of you did receive the reporting forms and requirements for this year as one of our full year sustained enforcement type grantees. We're asking you to engage with this and help us meet the requirement here. Everyone did receive the form earlier. We're on a bit of a tighter time frame this year. The FY24, the current year, is the first year that this is a mandatory thing that we have to do, and getting it in place and out and starting this program. We're on a bit of a tighter timeline this year than we will be in future years. So the reporting form that you all received, the first report back to us was due June 30th, which is actually 3/4 of the way through the federal grant year. But for this year, that was the timeline based on when we were able to get it out. So your first report was due June 30th. Final report is due at the end of the federal project year for your grants, which is September 30th. Moving forward, as we go into FY25 and beyond, we'll get to a more normal cycle of a mid-year report in like March and a final report in September. So we'll kind of normalize the timeline moving forward. But for this year, again, a little bit tighter. We're looking for your first report on June 30th, a final report at the end of September, to kind of wrap up this first year and to help us kind of collate and describe what the statewide activities were. So again, many of you have submitted the report so far. Some have not. If you have not, please get in there and do so. Get us something as a starting point. We get that this is new. Whole purpose for the session here today is to give you some guidance, some ideas. We realize that it's a new concept. Some of you may be a little unclear as to what we're looking for, but every journey starts with those first steps, right? So we need you to get moving on it and at least initially get us something that we can then kind of work with you to build out from moving there. So the actual report form that you did receive that we're looking to get, it actually has two parts to it. It's really the action plan and then the progress report. The first couple of sections, the action plan, is where you just basically let us know the kind of like, I guess, the who and the how, based on your demographics, your crash profile in your community, who are the focus parts of your community that you need to reach here, based on your knowledge of your communities, who's overrepresented or underserved in your communities. That's the area to focus on. That's the who. The second part is basically what are you planning? How are you going to get out there and engage with the community? That's the how. So that's the action plan part. That obviously you have to have a plan before you start. That's the initial part of the the report that we're looking for. Part two is the actual progress report, where you'll describe the kind of actions that you took. What kind of events did you do? What kind of, again, feedback did you receive? Who in the community, was there? Numbers, kind of makeup of the folks that you talked to. And, most importantly, probably like the third tab down there under progress reporting, what information did you learn from these efforts? Again, that's the input, the feedback, really the critical kind of new element to what we're looking for here. And then the last part is how are you going to use that information moving forward to tweak or change your program or kind of improve it. Obviously, that's the goal, is to improve your project and to utilize that information to make everything better moving forward. So basically, the final tab there, the guidance of what we've asked, or our ask of all of you for for this first year, is to at minimum get out there and do two kind of community-based activities. again, shouldn't be a heavy lift. Well, most of you are probably doing them already. That's, getting out to your community events or doing a special event just, that you put together for this purpose, or kind of just incorporating this into things that you already do out in the community. But a couple of events at minimum where you're out there, you're educating, you're distributing materials, information, but also, of course, having the discussions, the conversations, the feedback where you can get that information in, take notes of what you're hearing, summarize, and report all that into to us. So again, that's the key part, that new element of it, having the conversations, making sure we hit that mark on gathering input, and then certainly reporting that back into us. So that's where we're at. That's what we're looking for. Thank you to those who have sent in their reports. To those who have not, please get going on those and get them in so we can know what's going on and build on all of this moving forward. So moving on here is the director mentioned in the introduction at the outset, we're very fortunate right now at the division to have Deputy Attorney General John Nicodemo with us, who's been assigned over to the division to help us build out and manage this whole community engagement program moving forward. He has a lot of experience in that area, and we're again fortunate to have him helping assist and to get this going and get it where it needs to be. So I'm going to turn things over to John now for a few minutes to introduce a couple of examples of what this public participation and engagement looks like in the real world. So John, take it away.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you, Mike. So hi, everybody. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting quite a few of you in person, and those who I haven't met in person or had the privilege of doing that, I know you've received some of my many emails. So nice to see everybody's face and what they look like. Like Bob said, I'm assigned to the Division of Criminal Justice, but I had the I had a privilege and the pleasure of coming over to join my colleagues at Highway Traffic Safety. It's a sister agency of DCJ, to assist in any way I can with implementing the community engagement piece of the federal grant requirement as best I can from a statewide perspective. And I have to tell you, this is you guys are in good hands with this grant management team, because they are knowledgeable and bright and friendly and care. And I'm really, I appreciate being here. Tamika, did I say that right? Tamika paid me to say that. So okay, good. So I just want to make sure I got that. No, I mean that wholeheartedly. So I'm learning as I go about the many facets of what it is that you do as traffic officers and those that ensure the safety of your communities. Like Bob said, where I come in with a little bit of expertise is the community engagement portion of that. In DCJ, the topics, the subject matters that were the catalysts of us going out and engaging with the community were combating bias, hate, and violence in the state. Safety is safety, and security is security, and traffic safety is really up among those. So I'm educating myself as much as I can on the traffic safety issues, but I just want you all to know that I'm here to not guide, but assist my colleagues here and all of you. I serve you. I'm in service to you. If you ever need any kind of ear to talk to or someone to run ideas through, please don't hesitate to reach out. I also want to underscore something that Bob said. And I think it's really important to note, you're already doing the work in the communities. You're already out there engaging with the communities every day, especially those of you who are assigned to traffic safety. You're not only engaging with members of your community, you're engaging, it's New Jersey, we're a transit state, so you're engaging with people from all different communities as well. So it is really what you're already doing. There's so many opportunities. For instance, we happen to be today's August 6th. It happens to be National Night Out. And I know many of you are planning for, and again, we thank you for taking the time to be here this morning, because I know what it's like planning these National Night Out events, and fingers crossed. I know that the forecast is tricky tonight throughout the state. So, but these are good, nights like National Night Out in your local communities are really good opportunities for you to engage with the community and to learn what it is that the community needs. Always take those opportunities where they are. But as the liaison, what I can offer you and my colleagues here are connections, like we're doing today, any kind of guidance that you might need, and basically, like I said before, service. I'm here to assist my deputy director, my director, and all the grant managers in whatever way they need. That said, I am going to get ready to turn the floor over to three of all our colleagues. I consulted with my colleague here, Tamika Fogg, and I had reached out to a couple of you to see if you can prepare a little something to present today with the exemplary work that you are doing. And having reviewed some of the reports that have come in, you really are doing exemplary work, everyone. So thank you for that. But if I might now turn the floor over to our colleague, Lieutenant Wade Gordon from East Brunswick. And what I had asked the three representatives from the different agencies to talk about was the catalysts for the program, why they chose the program they did, their efforts to enlist the public to basically under the requirement of the federal grants, and the outcome of those efforts, and how they see effective community engagement, public participation as being benefits to their agencies. So, Lieutenant Gordon, if you could unmute and show us yourself and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about East Brunswick's program.
Hello, thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. I have a short PowerPoint.
Good, excellent, excellent. And thank you, by the way. I reached out to these three folks really late in the game, so I really do appreciate their putting these PowerPoints together for us. Thank you.
Maybe I'm doing this incorrectly. Bear with me.
No, just go to share, and then it'll have a box, and you'll see your PowerPoint in there.
Okay. Can you guys see? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. So, so starting with the catalyst of the program, it wasn't one specific thing. We looked at crash data, and we had some issues with pedestrians, seniors, and well as youth. Another thing we looked at, we have an online traffic safety complaint portal where residents can anonymously or with their information put in any traffic safety complaint they want. Some of the issues we saw were speeding, speed limits, aggressive driving, crosswalks, and pedestrian concerns. So the efforts to enlist the public. We have a traffic advisory board. What it is, it's an officer meets monthly with members of the community to discuss various traffic safety related issues and proposed improvements that can be made. Community policing also did a police and teens program where the officers met with high school students to discuss various safety issues, some of those including pedestrian, bicycle, and motor vehicle safety. And then also community policing also handles a coffee with a cop program, which they did. Officers met with seniors at a local adult community to discuss various safety issues, including pedestrian and motor vehicle safety. And then the traffic safety complaints, which I spoke about before, we meet generally daily to members of the community to discuss their concerns after the outcomes. Traffic advisory board meetings identified areas that could use greater traffic enforcement, better signage, maintenance of shrubs, et cetera, stuff like that. The traffic safety complaints, the online traffic safety complaint portal, identified areas of concern where we ended up conducting speed and/or traffic studies to determine if the complaints were valid. Okay. Officers conducted high visibility enforcement and education details targeting serious motor vehicle offenses. The details address safety concerns identified through the previous mentioned meetings and studies, which were spurred on by the public's concerns. Ultimately, information gained from the traffic studies was used to work with Township's Planning Engineering Department to lower the speed on a roadway adjacent to a park, and also add a high visibility crosswalk for the residents to safely cross the roadway and access the park. So the assessments. The community engagement efforts have done the following: identified new and unknown traffic safety concerns and allowed us to direct enforcement details to specifically address them, educate numerous members of the community about vehicle, pedestrian, bicycle safety, and allowed us to make a real change by lowering the speed limit of a road and adding a crosswalk. So that's all I have.
No, and that's great, and thank you so much for that. If you could just stop sharing for the screen. I think it's really important to underscore what those benefits are from having engaged with the public to actually carry out to have them be heard, basically. So I think there's so much benefit in that to the law enforcement officers and to the community. So thank you so much for that, Lieutenant Gordon.
Thank
Everybody, East Brunswick, exemplary work. Thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to ask my friend and colleague Chantel Robinson from Union Township to unmute. Chantel, I think I'm acting as your Vanna White here, right? I'm going to be sharing your PowerPoint with everybody.
Yes, thank you.
I hope everybody got the Vanna White thing. Sometimes I have references that nobody, I guess, under the age of 40 knows, but so I'm going to share your PowerPoint, and if you could just let me know when to advance. Okay. Everybody, Chantel Robinson from Union Township.
Ready?
One sec.
There you go.
Is that you?
Yes.
Okay, go back. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Ready, Mikey? Mm-hmm. So good morning, everyone. I have one of our community policing sergeants here with me, so he can help with this little discussion if I miss anything. Say hi, Mikey.
Good morning, everyone.
So here's a little background. John, you could go to the next slide.
Okay.
And here's a little background of our township as to why community policing and traffic safety is so important. Our township is a major thoroughfare, and we border at least 8 municipalities, and that causes issues with speeding, traffic, pedestrian safety. We also have an active downtown shopping district, and our population has increased 5.4% from the previous census. You go to the next one, John. And here's our primary objective, which was found in our grant application to deter or prevent unsafe driving practices and reduce the number of pedestrian accidents. And at the bottom here, here's our primary objective for our community policing. You go to the next one, John. And here, this is just our personnel of our unit. Our community policing unit of our Staff Services Bureau oversees all community outreach programs. It includes 1 captain, 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, 7 sworn patrol officers, and 2 civilian employees. We also have a neighborhood watch program. We attend civic association meetings. Am I missing anything?
Just to touch on the personnel, the community policing does have 2 sides. They work a 4 on, 4 off shift with 2 different sides. So there's every day of the week there is a member of the community policing division working, whether it's a weekend or a weekday.
Anything else?
No, that's cool.
Okay. You go to the next one, John. And since we've enacted our community policing unit, social media is a vital aspect of our department. We can be found on all platforms just to maintain an active presence with our community and our residents. We share our events, our activities, pictures, and additional public information. You want to add anything?
Social media platform as well. It gives the township residents and the community the ability to contact us discreetly as well through anonymous tips, through messengers and posts and comments as well. So that helps as well.
So with those comments, we get a lot of notifications of speeding, any unsafe practices. Do you think of anything else?
Just, the normal day in, day out complaints, whether it's traffic, parking. We do it for a lot of the pedestrian stuff as well. And that's where we notify the public of any details that we're going to be running. If there's a DUI detail, or if we're going to conduct a pedestrian safety, distracted driving, we let them know on social media platforms as well.
And also with work zone safety, that's a major aspect of our department as well, because we have so much construction being done in town. So every day we update our community with daily road closures, updates on construction jobs, just so that everyone is aware what's going on in town. You go to the next one, John. And this is just a breakthrough of our community outreach programs. We recently partnered with the Arrive Together, and that's just a community and county effort to combat mental health crisis responses. And you go to the next one, John. And with our community policing and outreach, this is another reason I have Sergeant Wajudas here. He was a vital part in acquiring our Hummer that you can see here in the pictures. You want to touch on that?
So we acquired the Hummer through the LISO program, with the military surplus program. And with that, and the approval of the command staff and the director here, we went out to community businesses and got them involved in brainstorming an idea for a community police vehicle with this Hummer. Everything that you see there has been donated by a business in town in one way or another. Local body shop painted the whole thing for us. We had another upholstery business reupholster the whole interior and exterior of the vehicle. And then we had an emergency lighting company get involved and supply a full package for it. And with that, we go to any of the events that they ask us to go to, that they may have their facilities that are community oriented, obviously. And then when we go out to the community itself, it does bring attraction. It draws the eye. We get a lot of positive compliments on it. It is one of the things that is new to the department, so we're trying to work that into more and more of our community events. One of the things that we really started doing recently is taking that out with a couple of coolers full of ice water and Gatorades and such, and we drive around to the local parks and playgrounds, and we distribute the water to the kids that are playing and the people that are in the parks. And it gives us an opportunity to build a rapport with those that are there, and also interact and gather any kind of comments or concerns that they may have in their areas or in the areas of the parks that we're at that point. So that community police vehicle really has become a functional tool of engaging with the public.
Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, John. And these are just a few examples of a few community outreach programs. We have our Junior Police Academy we just completed a couple weeks ago. Read Across America is pretty much the heart and soul of our department. Our March Madness Final Four, during the month of February, we spotlight local Black-owned businesses. Our Santa and Blue program, we have a holiday movie matinee, which also benefits our Santa and Blue program. We have a pink patrol car to highlight our support in the fight against breast cancer. And additional events include National Night Out, which was canceled tonight due to the weather. Coffee with a Cop, our Trunk or Treat, our Big Ice Cream Social is becoming a community favorite, our Unmischief Night, and our Breast Cancer Blood Drive. You go to the next one, John. And with these events, at every community event we do, we make sure to talk and engage with our citizens. And that's when we get a lot of the feedback concerning traffic concerns, safety, speeding. And with these concerns, we compare and contrast at our monthly community policing meetings. And with that, we take that information as well as information in our local law solve program, and we communicate with our traffic department, and we're more able to, I guess, do the direct radar enforcement.
Yeah, we highlight the
Yeah.
targeted areas and we enforce where the complaints are. We work very closely with the traffic bureau as well. So every event that
Mhm.
you see there, we
They're
have
there.
a community policing officer there with forms that are fillable so that the complainant can fill out the times, the details, whatever it may be. If there's specific complaints such as cars or trucks, if there's specific cars or specific trucks, we ask them to write that in there so that we can pass all of that detailed
To traffic.
information along to the traffic bureau, and then they can enforce it. And then that also gets passed along to not just the traffic bureau, but
Patrol.
patrol bureau as well. And they also lend a hand in enforcing and keeping the safety areas at bay.
The next one, John. And these are just a few pictures of some of our community events. We have our March Madness up top. This past time, well, Junior Police Academy, we were able to meet John Starks. So that's the picture in the middle. We also do our own flyers for community events. There's our Read Across America at the bottom, Coffee with a Cop, our Polar Express holiday movie matinee, our Black History Month spotlight, and that's our pink patrol car in the corner. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. And that's it. You want to add anything else, Becky?
No, that was it. It was perfect.
Captain Cohen?
Good.
Good job.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Captain. Much appreciated. I think one of the things that was really good about that is underscoring the significance of the importance of the communication with the communities, with keeping in touch with the people that we serve. Union Township has that function in place. I think what distinguishes what we do as far as traffic safety, respective to traffic safety, as opposed to what I was involved in, in my prior life a couple of months ago, which is not everyone in New Jersey is the recipient of, a hate incident or a bias incident. But I will tell you this: everybody in the state of New Jersey is affected by traffic. And I say that each of us is either a pedestrian or a driver. As soon as you step outside your house. So what we do affects everybody, and is affected by everybody. And one of the other things I want to underscore about what Chantel and the sergeant were talking about is all the different opportunities there are to engage with the public. It doesn't necessarily have to be a town hall or an event where you have to, have coffee and bagels. But stopping people in traffic, talking to people at the library, doing things like National Night Out, which is a shame that many of them will be hopefully postponed. I hope they're not going to be canceled at all, in general. But so keep us abreast, by the way, of those National Night Out events, because now that it's not on one night, I'm going to make my effort to get out to see each and every one of you. Last but not least, I want to turn the floor over to Patrolman Bill Cluse, Officer Bill Cluse from Piscataway. Earlier this year, I had the absolute pleasure of attending a community event. It was a public forum that was hosted by Patrolman Cluse and his team over at Piscataway, and I thought it was just so exemplary and well executed. So without further ado, I want to introduce everyone and ask Bill Cluse to unmute. And Bill, I don't think I have to share your PowerPoint, right? Do you have the ability to do that? Bill, you're muted.
Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, John. Thanks for having me here.
All right, you got it.
No, I have the PowerPoint. I shared my screen. Are you able to see it there?
I am, but I don't have your PowerPoint.
Okay, but can you see the PowerPoint now? I shared the screen.
I can't. I don't know if anyone else can.
We can see your Teams meeting screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me do this. Could you stop sharing for a moment? Okay.
Sure.
1 second.
If you have multiple screens, it should just be on the other screen.
Yeah. Is this mine? Here you go. Let's do this. Can you all see that? Everybody able to see that? Can just let me know.
John,
We
I was
could,
able to
and then it went
yeah.
away.
Yeah, not at the moment. Try again.
How about now?
No,
Okay.
you had it there for a second, it looked like.
Yeah, what do we got today? We got some technical difficulties. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Let's try it again.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Who needs technology, huh? All right, Bill, just let me know when you want me to advance.
Okay, I just for whatever reason I don't have the slides. I don't see that.
Okay. Does anybody else see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Bill, do you have the slides in front of you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go.
All right. So
All right.
yeah. All right, so we're on the first slide. Can you see it?
Okay. Yep.
All right.
All right. So again, my name is Officer Bill Close. I'm from the Piscataway Police Department Traffic Safety Division. I'm here to talk a little bit about our Safe Streets program, which is a sustained enforcement program year-round funded by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. Now, our system program is based all around speeding, and I'm going to get into why we started that. So if you could switch to that second slide. So the first catalyst to our whole program was, of course, residents' complaints. As I'm sure many of you receive, I'm sure everybody has a man just like you see in that upper right-hand corner there that sits out his window and calls you all the time and will complain about speeding. Speeding vehicles on 25-mile-per-hour streets. We don't have just one, we have tons. And to their credit, they are right. There are speeding vehicles out there. And up until a couple of years ago when we started this program, we didn't really have a great system in place to track those complaints. We had 2 officers in the traffic safety division. Maybe they would send 1 or 2 of us out there to their specific street, do some enforcement for a day or 2 just to appease them. And then the complaint would be more or less forgotten about. So we also had some speed trailers like you see there at the bottom, but they were old and outdated. The batteries only lasted a week or so, then they would die. They wouldn't get brought in. So we didn't really have a great program in place to address residential speeding. We knew that it was occurring. We had data from our traffic counters, and officers knew that speeding is occurring. So program catalyst, then we looked at, if you could switch the slide, John. The next thing we looked at was the crash data relating to speeding vehicles. And this was the concerning thing. For that nearly 10-year span from 2010 to 2021, nearly 10% of all of our crashes on 25-mile-per-hour streets were due to vehicles traveling at an unsafe speed. And the concerning thing about that is that the county and the state average for those same crashes our local average. Now, when we looked at these crashes were occurring most often between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. When you look at our call volume as a department, 4 to 6 p.m. are our busiest call volume hours. So what does all that mean? Our officers, these crashes are occurring at the times when our officers are most busy, therefore leaving them the not as much time for enforcement efforts. And with fewer enforcement efforts, of course, more of these speed-related crashes were occurring. Now, the final thing I want to say from this slide is that the young drivers, we took a look at that statistic. And young drivers in Piscataway in these crashes were involved nearly 30% of the time, and the state average was nearly 10 points lower. So again, another concerning statistic. You could switch that slide to number 4. So we set out a comprehensive speed enforcement campaign. And this campaign, we included infrastructure improvements. You'll see some of the, in the slide there, some of the pole-mounted radar signs we were able to purchase, rumble strips, painted rumble strips on the roadways. Those were infrastructure improvements. Educational efforts. Education included, last year we had completed over 20 educational seminars at our local high schools. Selective speed enforcement, that's what most people think of when you think of a sustained enforcement grant. But what we did with our sustained enforcement was we assigned specific officers we assigned officers at specific times based upon speed data to specific streets. That way we know that based upon data, this is when the officer is out there when the speeding is most prevalent. And finally, community engagement. That's why we're here today. Now, I'm going to be honest, when community engagement was, when we were told that was a requirement and it had to be included in the grant, that was more or less the part of the grant that at the time we were just putting in there because it was a requirement. And I'm here to tell you today that community engagement, what we've learned over the last 2 years of this, is really the backbone of this grant. Without the community support, this grant and this program would not be what it is today. We set 2 specific goals for this program. One was to reduce those crashes we talked about before by 3%. And then the second, to reduce those crashes involving the young drivers by 4%. And at the end of the presentation, you'll see how we stacked up with those goals. Now, the next slide is just some meaningful public engagement strategies that we've utilized. We're going to go through these. Skip to the next slide. Now, the first, the lawn sign slide, right there. So the first strategy that we utilized was lawn signs for this campaign. And what we did was we developed 4 unique lawn sign designs to appease to all different people and demographics, and we made them available for free. And while they all have different graphics, they carry the same message, which is to slow down. Last year we distributed over 1,000 of them. This year we did 500, and this year we updated them to include the campaign logo as well as our QR code to the webpage. And these signs, we found that they're most effective when, if let's put it this way, if one house on one street has one sign, it's probably not going to be that effective in slowing down the traffic. But some of the streets in our town where nearly every resident has one, that's where we see that they're effective, because as you're driving down the street, there's just so many, and people will look and say, what's going on here? So we can switch to that next slide. Now, the second community engagement strategy was we created this webpage and engagement portal, similar to what East Brunswick PD talked about before. So we have the webpage that speaks all about this program, the history, the statistics of why it was created and whatnot. But then we created this year was the public engagement portal, which allows for residents to request radar signs, enforcement, give any kind of feedback, volunteer to be part of the program and whatnot. Now, this portal, it's not just one way. It's not that the residents just submit it and their request goes into a portal that never gets looked at. You can see at the bottom of the slide, I get an email every time somebody submits a request through this portal. And what we do is we're sure to get back to them to start that 2-way communication with the residents. That way they know that their concern is being listened to and addressed. We can switch the slide. The next thing we do is we represent this campaign at community events. On the left, we were at the street fair handing out our lawn signs, like we talked about before. On the right, we had a coffee with a cop, where again, we're giving out free coffee, but we're also speaking with the residents, engaging that two-way communication about speeding in the community, about residents' thoughts about the program, how we can better this program, and we're you know, all the officers assigned to these details are taking notes, so we can come back, sit down. Now, this was our big event that John spoke about before, and this was the open public forum. This was the first time we held this. We held this year for the first time, and what we did was it was a 90-minute program that we broke into 3 different sessions. With the first 30 minutes being a brief presentation about the program, talking about the statistics and why the program's here, and our efforts and whatnot. The second 30 minutes was for was an open floor for the public for general feedback and questions about the program. And then the final 30 minutes was we broke the residents into groups based upon where they lived, and they got to meet with individual officers for street-specific concerns. And when we set up this program, we reserved the room for, I think it was maybe, the room was for maybe 60 people. We weren't really sure what to expect. And this program, we advertised it quite a bit, but we attracted a really great crowd. There was over 100 attendees there. It was a standing room only crowd. And the residents were engaged the entire time. One, we found out that they very much support this program. 2, we found that they want to be involved and they want to know what's going on in their community and with this program. If you could switch to the next slide. A couple weeks after that program, the Open Public Forum, we saw this on Facebook. It's probably very hard to read, but I'll summarize it to you, is that somebody was on Facebook bashing the township for not having enough speed enforcement efforts out there, or whatever the case may be. And this person was at our forum and they commented back. And this comment was sent to me by Peter. And I said, wow, that's really great, because what this person did was they went on there, and what this person did is they went on Facebook and they said that you must have obviously not been at the recent Open Public Forum, because the police officers sat us down. They told us why we have this program. They said they gave us the statistics behind it. They explained the enforcement efforts. They explained the community engagement efforts. They explained the educational efforts and everything that's going on behind it. And at a cost that at zero cost to the taxpayers, because this is being funded through the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. So that was a really great comment, and that shows that the public is really engaged in watching what we're doing here. If you could switch to the next slide, please. We came up with this brochure. We distributed it at community events, local shops, township buildings, during all motor vehicle stops relevant to this campaign, whether it's a warning or a citation. Every motor vehicle stop gets one of these brochures, and even with some mailed summonses. And what the brochure is designed is to educate the public on speeding and the risks associated with it, but also to educate the public on our sustained enforcement program. You can switch to the next slide, please. Social media posts. We continue to post regular social media posts relevant to this campaign. You can see all 3 of these posts are about very different topics. And with this program, there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of we're doing a lot of events, a lot of different things with the program. So we want the public to know about each of these things. So we do continue to post on social media. You can go to the next slide, please. Now, outside organizations and liaisons. What I found since starting a sustained enforcement program is that it is a lot of work, and to have a successful program, you're going to have to utilize outside organizations to help, and they've really been a big help. Here you see the Boy Scouts. Last year they helped us to deliver over 500 lawn signs to residents' homes. Last year we were distributing those signs. People would basically call in and place an order for whatever sign they want, and then the Boy Scouts stepped up big time and helped us deliver all those signs. We've also partnered with organizations like the Brain Injury Alliance and New Jersey Manufacturers for the educational efforts as part of this grant. And then resident street liaisons. This is something we started this year, where we have volunteers that represent specific streets. And what those liaisons do is they will be my point of contact to that specific street. They will collect and report community concerns, report it to myself, and then we are able to use that to drive the direction of this grant campaign and enforcement or whatever kind of other efforts we're going to do for their street to make it safer. Those liaisons also help distribute the lawn signs, which is a great help. You can switch to the next slide. We had created a couple of videos about the campaign. Again, we want the public to know what we're doing. We had an interview with the mayor. You could see myself and my lieutenant there on the left. That was broadcasted on our local Piscataway TV station. And what we did with that open public forum event that we spoke about before is we created a 5 or 6 minute summary video. And it really talks, it gets all the points of the program together in a 5 or 6 minute summary that's really good that we're able to put on social media. You can switch to that next slide. And finally, press releases and news coverage. At the start of each grant year, we issue a press release telling the public this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. And with that, we generally have a couple of the local newspaper, the online newspaper stations. They will publish some articles about what we're doing. You can go to that next slide, please. So the outcomes of public engagement. Now, like I said in the beginning, public engagement at the beginning of this, when I was first told this was a requirement, this was almost like, wasn't exactly excited about it. We're almost adding it in there because it was the requirement, if we're being honest. And I'll tell you that public engagement has become the most, if not the most important aspect of this program, because what we learned is this program without the support of the public would be very hard to implement. If we were out there in the community writing speeding tickets every single day, and the public didn't have our support, that would be a very hard concept to overcome. So I'm very grateful that we have the public support, and we did it through all of those strategies that I talked about before. Now, through we became aware of residents' concerns and ideas. Now, there's 3 big things that from speaking to the residents this year that I've learned, and those 3 things are number 1 is that the residents on focus streets of the program, where we're consistently doing enforcement, want to know that their street is a focus street, almost to give them, I guess, if you will, fair warning that enforcement's coming. So what we came up with was the idea for next year to create a postcard and mail that to every single home on enforcement, on what we're calling focus streets. So if we're going on a specific street for focused enforcement efforts, before we go out there, that postcard will get mailed to them in the beginning of the year, just advising them of the campaign, what we're going to be doing, and why we're out there. The next big thing was the placement of those rumble strips. Those are the strips that when you're driving down the road, it's not a speed bump, but when you drive over it, it'll rumble your car, and then it's often followed by a 25-mile-per-hour painted marking. Residents were reporting that because if you picture the northbound and southbound lanes, because the northbound rumble strips were not directly next to the southbound rumble strips, people were reporting that cars would enter the oncoming lane to avoid these rumble strips. Now, I've never seen that. I'm out on the streets all the time for enforcement efforts. I've never seen that, but not just one, but multiple residents reported that. So now what we're looking at doing is, for any further rumble strips that get installed throughout the township, we're going to have them side by side. So if you enter the oncoming lane, you're still going around, you're still going over those rumble strips. That was another important thing we learned from the residents. The final important thing was residents reported that a lot of what they believe the violator vehicles are is businesses. So they wanted to see us reach out to the businesses to advise them of what we're doing and hopefully encourage their drivers to slow down before they get a ticket. So we are going to be looking to do that in next year's campaign as well. Now, the community has shown great support of this program. One thing I want to say with that is what we see a lot on social media is if one person gets a summons because of this campaign, they might go on there and bash the program, bash the campaign. But then we see overwhelming support of people commenting on there and saying and showing their support of this program and talking about how it is a good thing for the community. So we really do have the community support here. And we've seen a significant reduction in those residents' complaints, which is always a great thing. You can go to that next slide, please. Now, the benefits of this public engagement is that we're involving the community. We're developing contacts with all different members of the community. We're addressing those residents' complaints. and positive publicity for the agency. What we're doing, all these social media posts, it's good publicity. And the important thing here, in bold at the bottom, is all of this work allows us to work towards our campaign goal through this program. If we didn't have the support of the community and of all the people in the township, I should say, it would not allow us to work towards that campaign objective. So if you could skip to the next slide. So this, just to summarize real quick, so results of year one. So we talked about that goal to reduce those crashes by 3%. We went from 9.95% in 2022 to 4.61% in 2023 after the first year of this program. So between infrastructure, between education, community engagement, and selective speed enforcement, between all of that, we were able to meet our goal, exceed our goal. And then the second goal of reducing those crashes involving young drivers by 4%, we went from that 29.20% historic rate to 20% in 2023. So again, we believe the program really has made it a difference in our community, and community engagement has undoubtedly been a staple of this program. You can skip to the next slide. If anybody has any questions or concerns, my phone and number and email are there, here to help. If I could be of any assistance. Thank you for having me, John, and thank you, directors.
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to give everybody a second if they want to take a picture of the screen. And this is again being recorded, so we can always make that available to everyone. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Lieutenant Gordon. One of the things and Bill, thank you for that comprehensive overview of the program you're doing over there in Piscataway, which happens to be adjacent to a big school called Rutgers. So we applaud you for that. Just one thing I want to underscore that Bill said that was resonant with Chantel and with Union Township and with East Brunswick, and that is how something that you have to do turns into something that you want to do, because there are measurable results. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to my boss, Director Michael Reishold.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing all that information with us. Hopefully, those on the call listening saw some of the great work done by some of your colleagues, and hopefully can implement some of that in your towns. Certainly saw some great stuff there. One thing that jumps out at me, low speed enforcement, really a priority. A few over in a 25, a few over in a 35, a few over in a 45 can be deadly to pedestrians. I think I mentioned 108 pedestrian fatalities thus far in New Jersey this year. So keep those sort of strategies in mind. John Nicodemo, our community engagement liaison, there's his contact information. If you would reach out to him if you're having any events in your communities similar to any of these, we'd like to have him and some of our staff join you to see what you're doing. It also makes it easier for us to report back to NHTSA. Not only are you reporting to us and we're sending the information secondhand to NHTSA, and we're including it in our annual report, we can also give firsthand accounts of what you're doing. Makes your reporting a little easier if one of us is there to kind of account for what has happened. Another thing that jumped out at me, I saw in the background, what do you consider lethal? I believe it's a New Jersey manufacturers program being put on. That's available through New Jersey manufacturers. It's a program that goes to high school students that have just received their driver's license or just going through driver's education, and makes them aware of the realities of traffic crashes and what can occur. I'm sure most of you have been on the scene of bad traffic crashes, but that's something that is, young people are often not aware of. They also run a program for students and their parents called Share the Keys. Both of those are run by one's a retired, I believe, Tom's River officer that runs the Less Than Lethal, and a retired trooper that does the Share the Keys program. So take advantage of those if you can. And also, as those are running, great opportunity to engage with the public. I'm just going to jump off this slide for a minute. There's a couple links here, and I'll see if I can. I don't know if I can or not. I'll try to put them in the chat or make them available to you. One's International Association of Chiefs of Police resource. If you want some more information, I think it's a pretty good source. And a Power DMS article that you can take a look at and hopefully give you some more ideas beyond what we've also already talked about today. This contact information for our staff. If you want to grab that, you should know who your grant manager is. There's their contact information if you need that, if you want to take a shot at that. But as John mentioned, this is being recorded and will be made available to you. Last but not least, regarding those programs, a lot of what was seen are things that are funded by the Division of Highway Traffic Safety. We can't fund overtime to go out and do these community events, but perhaps the supplies, things like the road signs and the brochures and things like that are certainly can be included in future grant funding. And of course, the enforcement that goes along with it. So there's a lot of information. Again, thank you everyone for your participation, and your comments are welcome. If anyone has any questions or would like a little more information or wants to talk about something that they did in their town, certainly please feel free to ask. Is there anyone that has anything they want to mention? Any questions? Yep. Okay. If anything comes to mind, anything you'd like to speak about, specific to your town, again, feel free to reach out to your grant manager and ask them the question. Feel free to refer back to this and reach out to any of your colleagues. Feel free to reach out to John, Bob, or I if there's anything that the Division of Highway Traffic Safety can do to boost your overall traffic safety program, and also to assist in your compliance with our public participation and engagement requirements. That's all we have. Again, thank you very much for everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. I just want to say my apologies. Marissa Rodriguez's name was misspelled. I'll send out an updated list of the grant manager's email addresses after this. I do apologize, Marissa. And reach out to me if you need to get in touch with any one of the other representatives from the local agencies that are on the call today. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thank you.